All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is now 2 p.m. Welcome to this Saturday's training session for the Det 19 Alumni Association Mentoring Program. I am Major Tony Maxey. Over to you, Colonel Hall, for opening remarks.
Hey, good morning, everybody. And Colonel Scott Hall here, the Mentor Program Coordinator for the Detachment 019 Alumni Association. So we are the sponsors of this Mentor Program. And I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you, Tony, for putting this together. And I will say that for our mentors, you have a really good opportunity to affect the lives of some new people coming into the Air Force, right? To grow them to become the people that they are meant to be. Now, notice I said, grow them to the people that they are meant to be and not duplicate you. Because for a lot of us in the Air Force, we have gone through a lot of different experiences. And because of that, we have a lot of knowledge to share. But we also need to recognize that what worked for us or was right for us might not be the right fit for that other person that you're mentoring. So one of your jobs is going to be, how can you guide them to find the answers that's going to fit what works best for them, right? And so Tony is going to teach you a lot of those types of techniques in order to become a good mentor and guide for these young people. Now, for our cadets, I'll say that you have a really good opportunity here. Every year, thousands of people go into the Air Force, but there's a very small number of people who actually have a mentor assigned to them that can kind of help walk through that process, that transition into the Air Force and how to be successful. Usually, those people might be, if you have a parent that's on active duty or in the reserves, or you have a friend, maybe some of those people can help you, but typically most people go in alone. So you have a really unique opportunity to learn and to grow. And the things that you learn through your mentoring relationship might even change your trajectory. It might even change who you were meant to be or going to be in this Air Force. But like everything worthwhile, what you get out of it is going to depend on what you put into it, right? Just like ROTC, just like college, the things that you put into making this mentoring relationship work is going to be your payback. And it's going to benefit you more than anyone else. So I really encourage you to, so as you go through this class, this training, Tony's going to give you some tips on how to become a good mentee so that you can get the most out of this program and set yourself up for success on active duty in a way that most people don't get, right? So don't miss out on the opportunity that you have here today. All right, so those are the words that I want to share. This is a big mentoring is near and dear to my heart because I had a lot of people pour into my life with mentorship, and I can honestly say without them in my life, I would not be where I am today. All right, Major Maxey, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Roger that. Thanks much, sir. So on the screen, you'll see a very brief agenda. Obviously, we've already had our welcome from the Executive Council and Colonel Hall. Next portion will be stepping through these charts and also the mentoring agreement that should be should have been or in the process of being signed by the mentors and also the mentees. Throughout this process, we'd ask that you please chime in with any questions, comments that you have, and then we'll wrap at the end with some administrative actions. So just to kind of piggyback off of Colonel Hall, kind of table set a bit, I'll share that probably the reason that I am before you today, kind of chatting. And he had even made it through the detachment at all is because of mentorship. So then Captain Ayana Brown, who's the flight commander, while I was at the detachment, met me while I was doing augmentee duty at the gate at Maxwell. And she's like, hey, come by my office and let's talk. And, you kind of get that military thing that people tell you to do. And you're like, okay, yes, ma'am. And then, of course, I didn't come see her. So the next time around, she was a little more direct about it. It ended up being, one of the encounters that changed my life. And still, I don't talk to her as much nowadays, but that mentoring, that guidance, that posturing helped me out a whole bunch, excuse me. And I'm so much better for it today. So when I get the opportunity to pay it forward, always take that opportunity. And I hope, through the course of this training, through the course of this mentoring program, that you take that opportunity either from the mentee side or from the mentor side. Just think, hey, this is awesome, right? To pour from each side. So keep that in mind. All right, what is mentorship? First bullet there, a trusted guide with expertise who can help develop a mentee's career. You'll see my style here is not to read through the charts, to let you all do that, but kind of give you a perspective on each, right? But a mentor is there to guide, to posture. Same things I said about then Captain Brown, right? To take someone who may not know as much about a subject or an arena, if you will, and give them the tools to be successful. You're going to build those relationships and share professional skills and experience. So second main bullet there, why mentor? To grow better people, increase job satisfaction, and to pay forward some of the things that were given to you. So specifically for the detachment, the Alumni Association is looking to increase the viability, the long-term trajectory of the detachment by reaching back and saying, hey, you know what, we have an obligation to make sure that the cadets that are there in the detachment are well equipped to enter active duty, and that once they enter, they have the tools to be successful. I'll share with you, had I known then what I know now, my transition into the Air Force would have been a lot more successful. I am a people person, right? I don't necessarily have issues going to talk to anyone, let alone those of senior ranks, but that's not always the case. There is sometimes a fear of asking the wrong question, a fear of how you'll be replied to. All those sorts of things come into play where there may not be an opportunity for you on the mentee side to gain those tools, those opportunities, those perspectives at the front side. So this is an opportunity specifically for the Alumni Association to reach back to make sure that we are paving the way folks paved for us. Colonel Hall, anything you want to add on to that on the why mentor portion?
No, I think you covered that very well. A lot of people, you just don't know what you don't know until somebody points it out to you. And so for someone just to take you along and say, here are some things that you need to think about as you go on your journey through active duty, just those simple questions can kind of change your life. And that's what a mentor is meant to do, to stretch you and also to encourage you when you fall down, right? You got to have that support, someone who's been there, done that, who can help pick you back up.
Awesome. All right, next up is the type of relationships. I'll briefly touch all of them. So coaching, right? This may be a relationship or a subset of a larger relationship with a specific goal or task in mind, right? So for example, I may be coming up to a promotion board. Me and Colonel Hall share the same career field. Colonel Hall may give me some short-term guidance on how to be successful for that promotion board. Hey, it's formal and task oriented. Hey, I'm Colonel Hall, Major Maxey, you need to do A, B, and C to be successful. He's an expert in the field and is performance driven in that he's giving me a task to execute for an end goal. Again, so coaching can be short or long-term, but in specific example I just referenced, it's more of a short-term, hey, we are at A, we're trying to get you to C, here are the tools you need to be successful. On the formal mentoring, more common in the workplace, frequent face-to-face, it's structured, and it's meant to offer expert training and support. There's often strategic pairing. Hey, you know what? Person A, I see that you're on this trajectory. Let me pair you with this person who's also been there and done that for you to have the benefit of their experience in navigating your course. Down in the bottom right, you see informal mentoring. These can be spontaneous, more flexible. I'll just share that this is probably my more preferred relationship building. These are organic. I've met people in the hallway. Hey, I see that they have the same classification badge that I have. I'll chat them up. Hey, sir. Hey, ma'am. When you get a chance, do you have a second to talk career, to talk life, that sort of thing? And 99 times out of 100, if their schedule permits, they'll be open to doing that. And then training is in the top right. You're going to talk about skill enhancements, formal and informal, also given by an expert in the career field. So in this particular example, I'll use Colonel Hall again. I am an acquisition guy. Let's say I've never done a source selection and he has expertise on a source selection from the acquisition perspective. He might give me some training and say, hey, here's how you conduct yourself. And it may be short-lived or more formal or more, formal or more informal, short-term or long-term. And there in the middle, you see the mentor, right? See the word success, support, questions, goals, motivate, and circles going around. That's meant to show that all through each phase or each type of relationship within the mentoring ecosystem, you're supposed to be an active part, right? It didn't do Colonel Hall any good to mentor me, to give me training, to give me coaching, if I'm not getting what he's saying and I'm not providing him that feedback. It doesn't do me any good if Colonel Hall's mentoring me, but we're not talking goals, right? There's not questions going back between the two of us. There's not that motivating factor to where, hey, you know what, I'm getting something out of this. He can see that I'm getting what the message that he's transmitting to me, and that there's actions on the backside of that to go out and be successful. So Jalen or Colonel Hall, anything that you all would like to add to types of relationships to kind of come on top and cement any of my thoughts?
I believe you hit everything on the head, but I would just say, just in general, when it comes to relationships, like you said, it's a give and pull. So in any situation, both the mentee and mentor potentially has something to gain. Obviously, with the mentee, it's more to gain because they maybe have lesser wisdom than the actual mentor. But even on the side of the mentor, just having a satisfaction, or just overall feeling the full circle, everything coming to full circle, you can influence someone's trajectory of their career. So it's definitely something to gain on both ends.
Got it. Thanks very much, Thompson. Colonel Hall, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just add that, especially for our mentors, and maybe some of our new mentors for this program at least, most of them are probably familiar with or been in an informal mentoring relationship where someone comes to them and asks them a question and they answer that question. Or someone wants to talk a little bit about how they got to where they are in their career. You might share some points, right? Which is a little bit different from a formal mentoring program where every engagement that we have, that you have with your mentee should be driving them to some sort of action, right? Because with a formal mentoring program, you are there to grow that person and to stretch them. And so at the end of every session, there should be a, hey, what are some of the goals you got out of this meeting? What are some of the things that you're going to work on based on our conversation? Those can be simple. Maybe it's them going back and thinking more about a thought-provoking question you asked. Or maybe it's something that they need to go and research, or maybe it's a specific action on something that they want to take, right? But with every engagement, there should be some type of action that you two have mutually agreed upon that's going to take place. And then during your next engagement, you can review the progress on that thing. And that's a way for you as the mentee to stay accountable to moving forward in your relationship and also moving forward and growing. So that's one of the biggest differences you'll probably see out of this formal mentoring program than your previous experience as an informal mentor.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you sharing that perspective there. As you were speaking, I thought back that I've never, to my knowledge, actually had a structured formal mentoring relationship. So yeah, that action at every touch point is something that's even new to me, and I've been around for a little while. So thanks for providing that perspective, sir. All right, roles and responsibilities. We'll start off on the mentor side. Maintain confidentiality within reason. Hey, the mentee is going to come to you with things that are going on in their lives and their career field, and within reason, right? There's not an expectation that they're going to hear their personal strifes, challenges, things of that nature being gossiped about. So I don't think we'll have any issues at all. We've got a robust group on the mentor and mentee side, but just putting that out there, that's something that we'd look to stay away from. On the mentor side, be accessible. I've had my fair share of folks throughout my career. I call it the cool thing to say, right? Here's a senior person. Hey, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to drop me a note or come see me. And then when you drop a note, it's kind of radio silence from the backside, right? Hey, we all get busy. We all have a lot of things going on, but within reason, hey, you rose your hand to be here. Please be accessible for your mentee and make time to get with them and kind of step through the things that they need. Listen actively. Be keen to the needs of your mentee, right? The things that they are going through are probably different than the things that you went through your junior and senior year in college. So be attuned and in listen and receive mode so that you can respond appropriately and provide them the support that they need. Fourth one is a big one, ensure professional relationship. Don't want to spend a whole bunch of time here, but we're all old enough to know right from wrong. There are left and right boundaries that are spelled out in the mentoring agreement that the mentors and the mentees have signed off on. The expectation is that everybody govern themselves accordingly. And if they don't, there are consequences that go along with that. That would put the Alumni Association in a bad place. We don't want that. We only want positive to come out of this mentoring relationship. So please, 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 foot stomp there, ensure relationships remain professional. Act as a role model. Hey, your mentee is likely going to look up to you. You are the expert, providing them counsel, providing them advice, guidance, support, motivation. Do things the right way so that the people who are looking up to you will follow your footsteps and also do it the right way. Motivate and support to achieve goals. I kind of touched on that a little bit and act as a role model, but be inspirational. Try to find ways to push your mentee to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Facilitate professional development. Professional development is a kind of a loaded word, meaning that there's a lot of different areas, opportunities to develop professionally, not just their studies in AS300 or ASV 400, or not just their professional military education when they come on active duty. So depending on their career field, their interests, try to encourage them to develop professionally inside the military and outside. Communicate expectations and accountability. Hey, here's a big one. what's implied or understood from a 20-year person in the military might be received differently for that AS300 or AS400. So speak intentionally, speak deliberately. Hey, here's my expectation. Here's kind of what I want to get out of this session, as Colonel Hall was saying earlier. And then support networking efforts. We've tried to match mentees to mentors based on their career fields and interests. But as you saw in the email, there's not a perfect match all the time, but all of us have a network of individuals we can go to. If there's a question asked that you don't know the answer to, please facilitate setting your mentee up with somebody who has expertise in that field, or hey, run point to whatever expert in whatever career field you need to make sure we're getting the mentees the answers that they need, and then also putting them in the room, in the atmosphere with people with like-minded goals and backgrounds. On the mentee side, very important as well. Hey, this is not all on the mentors. This is actually mostly for your benefit. We need you to be active participants in this process for it to make sense long-term and for it to actually work. So outline goals. Hey, take an objective look at yourself. Hey, here's what I want to do. I like to do a year plan, 3-year plan, and then a 5 to 7 year plan. So whatever works for you, talk that over with your mentor and say, hey, sir, ma'am, here are the goals. Here are the objectives I'd like to meet. Seek counsel and advice. Don't suffer in silence, right? We've all been there at a time when we're not sure about something, not sure how to navigate this road, and we suffer in silence because we may fear the answer, we may fear ridicule, because we might feel like the question is not the best question to ask, or we like to find our own way. You'll be more successful, at least it's been my experience, if you reach out to a few different folks, reach out to your mentor to say, hey, sir, ma'am, I'm thinking about doing this. You give me some advice on how to get there. Again, that's what this process is for, to give you advice to be successful. So don't hesitate to reach out. Be timely and reliable. This is an important one. As I spoke on the mentor side, everybody's extremely busy. On the mentee side, hey, you all have finals. A lot of you all are in sports and extracurricular activities. Hey, we get it. But if you want to be a part of this program and you want it to work, you want these mentors to take time out of their schedules to bless you all up, to support you all, give them that respect that they give you. If there's a task that you all discuss at one of your touch points that you're supposed to have ready, or you owe them a reply back on something, please make time to do that. It's important. Accept constructive feedback. This is a big one, right? When I talk to folks senior than me, junior than me, and also my peers, right? I don't always want the most rosy assessment. Hey, give me what's real. Give me, what may not be rosy, and I have to be willing to accept that, right? So as a mentee, hey, I sent my records to Colonel Hall a few days ago. I said, hey, sir, give me feedback, whatever that feedback is, I'm ready to take it, right? And so what I've asked for Colonel Hall, I have to be ready to receive, right? He's not going to tell me, hey, Max, you're the best thing since sliced bread, because that's not the truth. So whatever that ground truth is, I've got to be in receive mode, be strong enough mentally to accept what that is, and be able to work towards whatever goals come from that feedback. Be motivated. Again, this is an awesome opportunity. If you're AS300 or 400, soon you'll commission into the Air Force. Again, awesome opportunity. My life has been so much better for the decision to join the detachment and commission. So good things on the horizon. You got a lot to be excited for. Keep that motivation throughout the mentoring process, throughout your remaining time in college, and also as you onboard on active duty. Remain open-minded, kind of goes or ties to that constructive feedback. Hey, you don't know what you don't know. So when somebody gives you something that you're not familiar with, be able to take that and be able to adjust to it accordingly. Self-discipline kind of goes along with being timely and reliable. Again, this is a two-way street for this to work. You've got to be a viable part of this process. Be communicative. Hey, reach out to your mentor respectfully and let them know things that are going well, things that you wish were going better, and then something that will foot stomp as we go through the mentor agreement later. If for whatever reason the mentoring relationship isn't working, please don't suffer in silence. Myself, obviously Colonel Hall was there kind of handling some of the administrative side for the Alumni Association this year. Please shoot me a note if you're having any issues, and one way or another, we'll be able to get it figured out. Again, be communicative with your mentor as far as goals, things you need. And then also, if there's any issues, any at all, please don't suffer in silence, let someone know. And then prepare to move beyond mentor, right? So part of this is facilitating your transition into active duty, right? Your mentor is going to give you that guidance on how to be successful, finishing up your college career and transitioning in. Your mentor should also be a vessel to introduce you to other folks in your slotted career field, other folks from the Alumni Association, other folks on active duty, other folks in government, period. So be prepared to receive, to stretch yourself, as Colonel Hall would say, to think a little bit wider than you thought before, and be ready to receive, and then also pay it forward at the first opportunity. Again, very top level on roles or responsibilities. Again, Colonel Hall, anything that I missed or that you'd like to pull the thread on anymore? Over.
I thought that was really well done and really good words of advice to the mentors and mentees. There might be a couple of ones I want to emphasize. Listen actively for the mentor. So mentors, if you go into a mentoring session and the first thing out of your mouth is, here is what you need to do, then that's not really active listening, right? So active listening, good question to ask your mentee, how are things going? What's on your mind today? What do you want to know? So, and then be prepared to listen, and not just listen to respond, but listen to hear what's going on. So I would say that one. I would say it's important also for mentors to accept constructive feedback. So if your mentee comes to you and says, hey, I don't think I'm getting what I need from you, the mentor needs to be prepared to hear that and to follow up with some questions on what's not working, or how can I better meet your needs, or what needs to change. Okay. So that we owe that to our mentees. And then also when you talk about motivating and supporting, especially when a mentee makes a mistake, they know they've already made a mistake. There's no reason for you to kind of belabor whether or not they make one. I think a job of a mentor is helping them to move beyond that mistake and to learn from that, right? So a good question to ask your mentee would be, if they do make a mistake, would be, hey, what did you learn from this experience? How can you grow from this experience? How can you recover? Right? So you see the trend here of those open-ended questions to help your mentee to grow and to grow that connection. On a mentee side, I would say maintaining confidentiality is just as important for the mentee to do. For example, Jalen is my mentee, and I'm going to share some things from my life with Jalen. And I don't need Jalen to go, hey, let me tell you about Colonel Hall, man. Let me tell you what Colonel Hall did when he was a lieutenant or a captain. Yeah, we don't need that, Jalen. All right, I'm just going to say that one. All right. There's a lot of people out there that I already know, especially in my year group. So that's one of the things. Also, for the mentees, don't rely just on your mentor to reach out to you. Be proactive in reaching out to your mentor as well. That needs to be a two-way street, right? The regularly scheduled check-in. So those would probably be the two things that I would add to the slide here, Tony.
Thanks, sir. All right, next up is key mentoring skills. We'll briefly touch on the 4 you see here on the screen. And again, as we go through this, some of the themes we'll kind of pull off or build on the previous charts. But first up is encourage. Hey, as a mentor, we are trying to build the confidence of the next crop of cadets, next crop of officers coming up behind us. So when your mentee, does something that's good, hey, let them know, hey, you're proud of their accomplishments. And just as an aside, right, that is something I try to do every day. I'm out on social media, right? Try to congratulate somebody for something that they've got going. So if you go into it with that mindset, hey, people are appreciative of that kind word, no matter if they are AS300 or, hey, they're wrapping up a 25-year career. So keep that in mind. Describe your own experiences. Hey, Colonel Hall just mentioned, hey, he's had a bunch of things go well, and apparently a couple things that maybe didn't go as well, right? I don't know about those. Those are for him and Cadet Thompson to kind of dig into, but encourage via experiences that went well. And then also, hey, avoid these traps, right? I walked this path and fell into it, right? You don't need to do it because I already have. Share people and events that inspire you, right? I've got a list of probably about 300 quotes from folks that look like me and folks that don't, from all over the political spectrum, from some corners of the world that people wouldn't believe. But no matter what I'm going through, no matter what, what the task of the day is, I've got a quote for it. If it's not going my way, I can read one of those. And it's part of my resilience package that I've kind of built up. We already discussed a little bit, introduce mentee to colleagues as additional contacts, right? Hey, your network is so important. In government, outside of government, who you know is just as important as the work, right? Because you're not going to know everything, right? And then there are people with expertise all throughout the government, all throughout the Air Force that can help you on your path. So don't be afraid to shake a hand. Mentors encourage your mentees, especially those that may be a little timid, to get out, shake hands, and network early and often. So set goals, assist with finding resources, right? So mentee may have a great idea. Hey, we've referenced a few times here in the charts, I want to get from A to Z. Assist them with the resources or the step building, if you will, to get to Z, right? That's what we are here for, right? On the mentoring side, to facilitate that process, to give them that guidance that'll get them where they need to be. Impart knowledge and skills to help gain a broader perspective. Again, hey, I've been here, I've done that. Let me tell you about my experience. I learned this the hard way, so you don't have to. Set clear and achievable goals. Hey, Colonel Hall said he's already had a touch point with Cadet Thompson, which is awesome. I assume if they haven't already, they're going to establish that, hey, you know what, here is a baseline, here's where we want to go. There are goals in between that final goal that you want to get to. So as we build that bridge to get to the end there, hey, here's the first goal. Need you to hit this. And once you hit it, let's calibrate, talk about what we did, what went well, and adjust accordingly. So again, that's not a one size fits all. It's going to depend on the mentor and mentee and their specific goals, aspirations, but make sure that there's something tangible that you can point to and say, hey, here's what we were working towards. And as Colonel Hall said earlier, hey, we want each touch point to be tangible, not just a, hey, talk on the phone how things are going or get together via Zoom. I want something to come out of those touch points. So build trust. We spoke on some of these before, right? But hey, keeping communications confidential. Nobody wants to hear their dirty laundry or their worst day spread and gossiped about. So be decent to people, treat people the way you want to be treated, whether you're the mentor or mentee. Honor scheduled meetings and phone calls. So I'll share a GO, as I was working in the Pentagon, did that thing that I talked about earlier, right? Hey, how you doing? You know what? Get on my calendar. Let's get together. So I got on his calendar. First time he canceled. Hey, I understand GOs are busy. He's like, hey, I told you to get on my calendar. I'm like, yeah, sir, you canceled. He's like, okay, get back on it. So I got back on the calendar the second time. He had to cancel again. So again, keep in mind, general officers are super busy. I get it. Got back on it the third time, and the third time didn't cancel, but he didn't get onto the call for whatever reason. And so after the third time, I was like, okay, you know, I've got bigger fish to fry. He's really busy. Find somebody else to kind of fill those gaps for me. So that's not the best example. I'm saying don't have that be the baseline or the experience that comes here from the detachment on the cadet side or from the alumni association. So to the extent possible, we know things come up, but if you make a meeting, please honor it, please keep it. Show interest and support. To my knowledge, nobody is forced to be here on the mentee or mentor side. So all volunteers, all rose our hand to be here. So let's support one another on the mentee and mentor side and be viable participants throughout this process. Listen actively. Again, flip-flop what Colonel Hall said on the previous chart. Hey, don't just listen to respond. Be in receive mode so you can hear what's actually going on from the mentee's perspective so that you may respond appropriately. And again, all circles around to providing the support, the guidance, the posturing, the framework that they need to be successful long-term. One that's really big for me, right? Especially last couple of years, we've been operating via COVID, is paying attention to body language, right? So if I have a rapport with you and I know you're usually jovial, you're upbeat, hey, you've got your chin up all the time. And then the next time I talk with you, you're sunken, heads down, it's not that same energy. I may be able to ask you a question to open up to see what's going on there. So we've all got life stressors. Pay attention to body language. And if something's different than the last time out, that might be an opportunity to kind of probe in a little further to see what's going on. Again, in the hopes of offering assistance to kind of help through whatever issues there. Pause briefly. Cadet Thompson or Colonel Hall, anything to add on key mentoring skills?
I would just like to say that, kind of emphasize to build trust. I apologize for the background noise. I have family coming in at the
Totally
time.
understand. That's okay.
But I would say the building trust slide it's important, not only just knowing the standards and being able to have that open line of communication with your mentor, but also just in general, just with trust. I think it develops healthy relationships. I believe you mentioned that. It's just another way to establish accountability and credibility. So, with your mentor and mentee, having a good foundation built on trust, it allows, especially for the mentee, to kind of grow into their own and learn new quality skill sets.
Yeah,
But over
awesome
to you.
perspective. Thank you so much for that. Colonel Hall, anything from you, sir?
Well, I appreciate Jalen's comments there. And since he is prior enlisted, prior active duty experience, sounds like he has some really good and positive experiences with mentors and maybe even some not so positive experiences too. So really appreciate that perspective that you added. And Tony, you too, I thought those were really good, especially setting the goals. So going into every meeting, the mentor and mentee should have some type of goal or agenda set up, things that should be discussed. It doesn't have to be, you can go in with a proposed agenda, but nothing says you have to stick to it if the conversation leads you somewhere else, right? So don't be a victim of your own agenda, right? Be flexible on that. But definitely that's an important part of it, and building that trust as well. I think that's going to be a long way you'll probably experience that with some of the connections. It might take a few sessions before that trust is really built. So some of those conversations might be superficial in the very beginning. They might be good conversations, but they might be a little bit on the superficial side, which is fine too, until that trust is built. And that's a two-way street with both the mentor and the mentee. So, as one person opens up, the other person will open up as well.
Thanks, sir. All right, next chart is mentorship guidance. On the left-hand column there, you'll see build rapport, build rapport, manage relationships, and reciprocate respect. And you see the arrows going up, right? So build rapport first, right? Colonel Hall talked about the first couple sessions, maybe filling each other out a bit, some superficial, don't feel as natural, flowy conversations. But after a while, the expectation or the hope, if you will, is that, hey, I know the person that's on the other side. We always want it to be respectful, right? But respectful, and we'd hope and pray that the relationships grow organically, right? So we've placed you all together in not the most organic way, right? But hey, again, everybody volunteered to be here. And so we've got folks on both sides who are viable and engaged in this process. And again, on the left-hand side there, that's the flow that we hope to get to that reciprocal respect. On the bottom, you'll see stages of formal mentoring relationship, right? So stage one is initiation. We've done that. Hey, we've let the mentors know, hey, here's your mentee for this year. Hey, reach out. Some sort of initial comms to set up hopefully a Zoom call, or you all get on the phone and talk life, and then set up something more official to kind of navigate a plan going forward. Stage two is cultivation, as Colonel Hall mentioned previously, right? Hey, it's a back and forth. It's not just on the mentor to reach out to the mentee. It's not just on the mentee to reach out to the mentor. In a perfect world, there's that organic flow of information to accompany the structured meetings, right? So this is formalized. We want you to have touch points at regular intervals, but in between then, if there's a question, hey, again, I just shot Colonel Hall my record. He doesn't know, but I'll ask him a question now, right? So, hey, Colonel Hall, I'll be respectful, aware of his time and his commitments, but hey, within reason, I'll shoot him a note. Hey, sir, I'm going through this. What do you think? And hopefully he'll have that time to get back with me. Stage three, separation. I'm gonna hit a strap pause on that and let Colonel Hall, so I'll come back to that. And then stage four is redefinition, right? After an amount of time, there is a baseline built. The mentor may have a greater understanding. So they may not need the same touch points of once a month. Hey, you know what? This is my first year on active duty. I might need to get with Colonel Hall once a month to make sure I'm not messing this up. But after a couple years, I've got a little bit better feel of things. I might not need to get on his calendar every month to talk shop or to talk my list of work projects or things that I've got going. Under the ask questions, right? We've already talked about asking open-ending dialogue, encouraging questions, right? So not, are you doing good today? Yes or no. Perhaps it's a, tell me about your day, or tell me about your first month. Tell me about your office environment. How's your relationship with your supervisor? Something something in that realm. Listen without judgment, right? Everybody's going to have different experiences. Some people will transition into their senior year into active duty flawlessly. Some people will have a few bumps in the road, right? I had been previously enlisted, so in theory, right, I should have had a seamless transition into active duty. I will tell you that was not the case. And fortunate, I had then Major D. Brown, also an attachment alum, to see that I came from the dead via Miss P, and to kind of hit me with the glove save and give me some good game. So again, paying it forward, that's my experience. Everybody's experience is going to be unique. From the mentor side, ask open-ended questions that encourages dialogue. We've already talked about watching body language and emphasize questions versus advice given, right? Colonel Hall is especially good at this. Hey, let me just ask a probing question to cause the other side to think, and then I can see or gauge where they are based on their response. Provide feedback as dialogue. It allows mentor and mentee to be partners in the process. Again, you don't want it to be so heavy-handed, so top-down that the person that's in receive mode takes it or receives it as critiques. So sometimes you might need to be that deliberate, that forceful, but as a baseline, create a dialogue. That's the preferred method to get your message across, have it stick, and then have the mentee on the receiving side actually take action from it. And then on the top there in the green, document wins and publicly endorse your mentor or mentee. Hey, there's several forums. We've got the Det 19 Alumni Association Facebook. We've got LinkedIn. If your mentee does something that's awesome, please raise it so we can acknowledge them publicly. They're going to see the Alumni Association investment and support into what they're doing to hopefully encourage them to have more wins, to have more things that they do well. So we really want to set them up, especially on the foundational portions of their career well. So when they do something well, please let us know and we'll highlight and congratulate them accordingly. Colonel Hall, I saved stage 3 for you specifically. Sir, you have a couple words you could give us in the separation stage of the mentoring relationship?
Yeah. So the mentoring relationship will not last forever in the same way. There'll always be the connection between the people, but the way the relationship works is going to change at some point. For us, for this formal mentoring program, the formal portion of the mentoring program is meant to get someone through that first year on active duty. So with the duration of the mentoring agreement will last from the moment that we are matched through that first year on active duty, right? After that point, that formal portion of that mentoring relationship ends. And at a certain point, the mentee and the mentor are going to separate. This person's going to go on it on their own for a little bit, right? But at a certain point, they're going to come back together. And that's what that redefinition is. You're going to kind of change, like you said, you're going to change the duration, the timelines in which you meet and forums. And it might not be as regular. It might be more sporadic or periodic. But hopefully you've given that mentee what they've needed to be able to stand on their own for a little bit. And also recognize that a single mentor can only take you so far. So in order for you to grow, you're going to have to get other mentors as well. Right? So those are just some things to think about when you think about the separation. There's nothing bad. It's just an evolution of the relationship.
Got it. I'll kind of cap this chart with a personal example. Again, by happenstance, I ended up working for Colonel Washington, who's also a Det alum. And kind of the same way that Major Brown did, kind of snatched me up to give me some game. And very appreciative of the time working for him. Real talk he gave me, honest feedback, candid feedback at times. But then, of course, he moved on to another office. I was still there for a while. So the tenets of our relationship changed a bit. But under the cultivating part, right? So it wasn't as formal as it was, obviously, because I'm not working for him as a direct report. So that day-to-day interaction, those monthly feedback sessions, we didn't have those. But under cultivating, right? I made sure that I didn't just reach out to him when I needed something, right? So that can leave a bad taste in a mentor's mouth. So this is not directly related to the chart, but just share for for context and if the mentees are listening, is to keep in your back pocket. You don't want to be that person that just shows up once every 2 years when you need a letter of recommendation, or you need a good word for a job you might be applying for. Again, that's not the way to do it. You'll have to find that particular footing with each relationship. But a good course of action is to at least check in from time to time, just to know or to show on both sides, right, that you're not just in this for what you can get out of it professionally. Just a personal, hey, that's a Tony-ism, as you're cultivating relationships writ large, period, right? Whether they be with your superiors, your colleagues, or your subordinates. Find touch points at regular intervals just to say, hey, how you doing? It's important. All right, now we're going to view a mentorship guidance video.
Can anyone else get sound? Because I don't hear anything.
No, sir. No, sir.
So my apologies, Colonel Hall, Cadet Thompson. I thought that I had flipped the script in Zoom to have it play and project out. I'll link to the video in the same place on the mentoring share page that I have these charts at, to make sure everybody has viewership access of it. So I apologize there. But the backdrop of the video, I'll just give you all a little context, keep things flowing here. As her giving or kind of some of the same background, fundamental positives of mentoring relationships and how they've added to her career, and then some of the folks that came behind her. So I forget her name off the top of my head, but she's in SES and AFMC, and it's really hammering home some of the same fundamental tenets we've discussed here, right? It takes a village. Now, you don't get to anywhere on your own. And in fact, it's been proven that you'll get a lot further if you take people along with you, and then the guidance, mentorship of folks who've already been down that trail, either the exact trail or a similar trail, to kind of help you navigate your way. And again, I'll link to this video out on the Google Drive, or I'll hang this recording at. So I apologize for the technical difficulties there.
Hey, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Just one thing to add, especially for our cadets that might not be familiar with the Air Force civilian or DoD civilian structure.
Yes, sir.
And SES, Senior Executive Service, that is the general officer equivalent on the civilian side. So that lady is the same as a GO, but just on the civilian side of the Air Force. And as you go further up in rank, you'll meet more civilians as you work on more headquarters staffs and things like that. But to become an SES is a very big accomplishment because they are treated like GOs by military. So I work for an SES right now, and so my boss is the equivalent of a flag officer, and I think they move all the way up to like the 3-star level. So I just wanted to emphasize the significance of that. So the person that you hear speaking in that video is an actual GO equivalent.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, sir. On this chart, we see plan for success. On the left-hand side, you see there some tools or best practices for mentors, and on the right-hand side, you see some best practices for mentees. But really, the left and right-hand side can be true for both, right? The getting acquainted, building trust, setting plans, embracing feedback. Again, I could read through all of them. We've touched on them, a lot of them in the previous chart. I'm getting some background noise from someone. We've touched on a lot of them in the previous charts, but just meant to kind of foot stomp on the way out is that, hey, this is an active plan, right? And we need everybody's participation to make it successful. So again, Colonel Hunter's kind of facilitated from the detachment side, putting this together. And obviously Colonel Hall has facilitated from the alumni side, putting the environment in place to pair everybody up, with the hopes that this is going to do some good, so that my kind of deer in the headlights, first day on active duty at Robins Air Force Base, you all don't have to go through. And it's important that you be viable and active through this process on the mentee side, and that on the mentor side, you adhere to the best practices described here. And then also think back to the positive mentoring relationships that you've had over the course of your career, and also pay it forward. All right, mentorship mistakes. Discouraging mentoring employees who directly report to you. So I've been in some office environments where it's frowned upon, or perceived to not be above board, but that's not the case at all, right? If you provide the opportunity for all who work for you, it's nothing against mentoring anybody who works for you. Resist temptation to control the relationship and steer its outcomes. Hey, your goals aren't necessarily the mentee's goals. Hey, Colonel Hall may want to be a 4-star general, retire, become a secretary, and then the president. My goals may not be that lofty. So when he's advising me, it's important that he share his goals, or what's perhaps out there, what's possible, but not push them off on me. That can be off-putting for some. Avoid not setting expectations or not empowering mentee to make decisions, right? Again, we want to encourage and facilitate the environment for the mentee to take their goals, their aspirations, and perhaps grow them. But we want to be careful not to control the relationship so bad. Hey, mentee, you're going to do X, Y, Z, if they don't really want to do X, Y, Z. Avoid correcting your mentee and giving them the right answer. That can be hard at times, but again, we want to facilitate thinking within the mentee to recalibrate their mistakes, and perhaps the next time out, do them a different way, or do whatever they did wrong a different way. Avoid criticizing your mentee, but provide honest feedback. There's a sweet spot. Hey, you don't want to be too forceful. You don't want to be too lax. Whatever that is, depending on the relationship you build with your mentee. Again, you don't want to be too hard on, but you don't want to be a softie either. So depending on the relationship y'all build, again, this is formalized on the front, but we hope throughout these touch points that you build a rapport where that there's enough trust to have real talk, and that real talk, mentor find that sweet spot that makes sense. Resist the urge to rescue your mentee, minimizing interruptions. Again, free flow of information. I talk a whole lot, so I have to be cognizant in my conversations with everyone, not just somebody subordinate to me, to not take up all the oxygen. I need to be in receive mode, and literally while I'm talking on the phone or on Zoom with somebody, I'm like, hey, Tony, shut up and listen, so that I can hear, I can receive what they're saying, and then take it and be able to respond back. Avoid underestimating your mentee and thinking you are better. Hey, I always say, right, 99 times out of 100, whoever I'm on the line with is going to be smarter than me, way more capable. But I say overall, the generation or the crop of senior college students coming out are way more knowledgeable on technical, on the world, on politics, on their surroundings than I was even 10 years ago. So going into a mentoring relationship, understanding that these college students, these senior and junior cadets have more of a grasp of the world around them, because the world has changed and there's more information readily available than when even I came through school, 10, 11, 12 years ago. Avoid the lack of integrity, betraying confidentiality. Again, I think we've foot stomped this one enough. If it's meant to be kept between the mentor and mentee, please keep it there. And then down on the bottom, there's kind of a bumper sticker quote here. I love quotes I said earlier. A sign of a good leader is not how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. So again, the goal of this, right, is to measure 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now to say, hey, you know what? This colonel, this general, this mayor, this CEO, wherever your path leads you, that coming out of the detachment, the Alumni Association paid it forward, provided you good guidance, good foundation to launch onto active duty with, and that you come on to active duty with a support structure to answer questions you have and guide your path, and then also immediately start thinking about paying that forward and then creating the next generation of leaders. Colonel Hall, anything to add on mentorship mistakes?
Only one, well, a couple. For that first bullet, especially as part of a formal mentoring program, a mentoring relationship can work with between a supervisor and an employee, but just recognize that a mentee might not be as open because they know they're talking to their boss. So that's just one reason why we try to discourage, if you're in the chain of command, having that mentor or formal mentoring agreement might not be the best, because you might not have someone who's willing to be as open just because they know who they're talking to. But I don't think that's a problem right now.
No, sir.
The other one, that resist the urge to rescue your mentee, especially the more senior officers. You know, you see your mentee, think they're getting in trouble, or something's going on, making a phone call on their behalf somewhere probably isn't the best option to do. Allowing that person to maybe advising that person through the situation, but maybe not going in and making a phone call to the other person's chain of command or anything like that. So those are the types of things we want to avoid. And then one that's not listed on here, not becoming attached to a mentee's decisions. So one pitfall for a mentor might be that they become emotionally attached to the decision that a mentee makes, like it's their own. So just recognizing that your mentee is an adult, and they can make their own decisions, and then they also have to live with the consequences of their decisions. The only thing you can do as a mentor is to be there to support them, help point them in the right direction, but then giving them the space to make their own decisions without you becoming attached to it. Right. So because that can actually build some resentment if you feel really strongly that your mentee should do X and they decide to do Y. So as a mentor, you just got to have the maturity to let that go.
Got it, sir. Thank you very much. All right, mentorship successes. Again, I'll briefly touch this because I think most of these sentiments we've covered in the previous charts. But be spontaneous, call or email out the blue to encourage. Hey, if you got a good quote, you got a good word, you woke up in a good mood, share that with your mentee. Mentees, if you're listening, you can also do that to your mentor or do that for your mentor. A good positive word to start the day or close the day, I think, is always welcome. So don't be afraid to reach out and do that. Encourage, inspire, and challenge. We've discussed all of those ad nauseum. Look out for one another, be there to motivate. Celebrate successes. Hey, we're going to do that early and often. We've got a lot of communication outlets here in the Alumni Association to kind of project those good things that our newest crop of lieutenants do. So we're looking forward to hearing about all the great things. So don't be shy to raise those so that we can acknowledge you appropriately. Maintain a professional relationship, not personal relationship. Again, there's a nuance there that can be done. And you'll know it when you get there, right? Hey, I can text Colonel Washington. I consider him a mentor, but I can't text him, hey, what's up? I've got to put the appropriate salutations on it. I am in no, I understand that one of these is not like the other. So just keep it professional throughout the mentoring relationship. Encourage cross-gender, cross-cultural mentoring. It bridges gaps. So one of the things that I did, I was the one who did the matching for this year's cycle. I purposely decided to cross up some genders, what I thought to be different cultures as well, just to give a different perspective. Specifically, if you are a cadet from ASU, you will probably enter an active duty that looks a lot different than your surroundings have been for the last 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how long you've been at ASU. So it's important to not just reach out to folks who look like you. There are a lot of folks who don't look like you who also help you, who also have subject matter expertise. And it's important to reach out broad and get that perspective. Go beyond mentorship and invest, endorse mentee success. This kind of goes along with, hey, celebrating their successes. I always say, hey, watch for people who don't clap when you hit a home run. If your mentee hits a home run, you should be on your feet clapping, not just clapping. So be sure to give them that encouragement on the front side. And then allow the mentee to set the tone and follow their lead. Hey, if I'm a mentor for this cycle and I am doing all of the calling, all of the email, all of the reaching out, there's something wrong there. The mentee should be appreciative of the mentor's time and be reciprocating appropriately. So make sure the mentoring relationship period is not just one-sided, because that's not the way we drew the program up. And it's not going to be successful in that right if that's how it's being executed. All right, again, another video here. I apologize for the tech issues. I promise on the Google Drive page that has this video. So if you're watching this video after the fact, there'll be a link down below to these videos. All right, a knowledge check. Smaller audience here on the line, but we'll go through these briefly. Which is not a definition of a mentor? Is it A, helps develop mentor's career? Is it B, trusted guide that shares professional skills? Or C, solicits favors to help get ahead?
C.
Hey, awesome answer. And I'll share that Colonel Hall put these questions together, I believe, and I haven't seen the answers, but I'm going to say C as well. And Colonel Scott's going to be our official score to let us know how we track here at the end. 2, so let's select the best open-ended question. How many mentors do you have? Is A. B, what are your goals for this mentoring relationship? And then C, do you have goals? Cadet Thompson, what do you think?
Answer choice B.
I'm on the same page with you, right? Hey, and here's a hint as well, right? If you're doing multiple choice, generally one of the longer answers is going to be the one you strive towards. So put that in your back pocket. Third question, which is the primary stage of learning and development? The cultivation stage, A, B, the initiation stage, or C, the redefinition stage. So this is the hardest of the 3, but I've got my answer that I'll hold. Cadet Thompson, no pressure, but you're 2 for 2 so far. What do you think?
We're gonna go 3 for 3. I'm gonna choose answer choice A.
There we go. I'll choose A as well. Colonel Hall, how do we do?
All right, so I'm going to first give a disclaimer that these slides were not put together by me. They were put together by another alumni, Lieutenant Colonel Jonte Likes, who was, I'm sorry, her Likes is her maiden name. So Lieutenant Colonel Jonte McGrew.
Yes, sir.
Another Det 19 grad. She's currently the mill assist to the Secretary of the Air Force, which is a pretty prestigious and competitive position to be in. No doubt she got there because of mentoring in her career. So she put them together, but I know the answers, and I say that you guys got them all right.
Awesome. Hey, Cadet Thompson, we can already see, hey, you're on the right path. You understand this mentoring thing. And I'm anxious to see what comes of you and Colonel Hall pairing for this cycle. I think this is the last chart. Hey, if you've made it this far on the recording, again, some top level knowledge that we wanted to impart with you. A lot of you all are seasoned professionals, most still in government, and a few that have retired or separated and now doing great things on the civilian side. So probably not a whole lot new here, but just some reinforcement to say, hey, from the Alumni Association, we covered some of these things. Really wanted to set the tone appropriately, make sure we went over what not to do, and then also have a framework for the cadets, for the mentees to go and view, to know what to expect when entering into their mentoring relationships. So briefly, I'm now going to pull up the mentoring agreement, or a draft of it, that we sent out. Most of the cadets have already signed. There are a couple that we're still waiting on signatures back from. But if you're seeing this, you likely have already seen this in your box, pre-signed by your mentee, for you mentors to sign and finalize. We'll keep these in record keeping for ourselves, the Alumni Association, and also keep at the detachment for record keeping. So I'm obviously not going to read through this briefly, but I'll scroll it here on the screen and just at a very brief clip, touch on a couple points. And Colonel Hall, please, as I'm scrolling through here, if you see anything that jumps out at you, please stop me and come on comms and offer any words that you have. As spoken previously, right there in 1.3, after a year of active duty, the detachment will no longer track this mentoring relationship in a formalized way. It's then up to the mentor and mentee to decide, hey, if you want to keep it going or not. And if you do want to keep it going, there's a hope that you do. How formalized or non-formal it is, and then also what those touch points look like. Colonel Hall, please.
I just wanted to add that if you are trying to show the mentoring agreement on the screen, we don't see it. We just see the PowerPoint.
Got it. How about now, sir?
Affirmative.
Awesome. Yeah. So picking up at 1.3, official for a year. After that, up to the mentor mentee to say, hey, here's how we want to kind of go about this going forward. Hopefully there's a good rapport and some organic comms that make that conversation easy to track. So there'll be a survey of recent graduates to say, hey, how well this thing is going. We hope, again, if things aren't going well anyway, reach out to myself, reach out to Colonel Hall. All the mentees will have both email and contact phone numbers to reach out. If there's any issues at all, don't hesitate to reach out on the alumni side or on the cadre side to raise your hand and say, hey, something's not going the way it's supposed to. Mentorship guidelines. Always good to have a few topics that kind of guide and posture discussions between mentors and mentees. On the personal side, hey, you all can discuss finding a place to live at your first base. Hey, how to budget that new paycheck. If you're a poor college student like I was, it can feel like a whole lot of money if you're, struggling and going week to week, check to check. So mentor can probably provide you some guidance on how to go about that without blowing it. And so you have something to show for it at the end of your first year. Participating in professional organizations. I think a few of you from your interest sheets are in Greek organizations. opportunity to do a lot of networking on the active duty side if you have those, but then also, hey, some, based off of what you're interested in, all types of clubs, activities, et cetera, et cetera. Work-life balance is important, right? To keep viable as a person, you've got to have resilience and do and encourage the things that keep you whole, right? Because it's not just about being married to the office for 12 hours a day, coming home, going to sleep, and then doing it again. You'll burn out that way. Mentor-mentee can also discuss work environment, establishing a rapport with the supervisor who may or may not look like you, who may or may not understand your background. I think that the crop of mentors have that perspective and experience down pat, and should be able to give the mentors some real gems to kind of go into their office environments with. Under job and leadership, career field expectations. Again, not an exact match. I know some of the 400 cadets already have their career fields. So your mentor may or may not have your specific career field and may or may not have a specific career field perspective to give you, but I guarantee your mentor knows somebody who does, and they can facilitate setting you up to have that conversation early and often. Again, you should to show up to your first base with not all the answers, but more of a clue than I had on my first day. In another setting, another clip, I'll tell you about my first day getting to my base with no sponsor, and then how that ended up for me. All right, managing career. This is a big one, right? Writing EPRs, OPRs, and awards packages. So OPRs are things that follow you amongst your career, officer performance reports. You all are 300 or 400 cadets. You should know that, but just in case, let me do the acronym thing. Depending on your career field, you will likely write or oversee EPRs of your subordinates. It's important that you know how to write for yourself, but also your subordinates. You want to take care of people who work for your career and your own career. So it's important. Again, the mentor should be talking to you about those things at some point during your junior and senior year, and in that first year on active duty. It's very important conversations to have. So make sure you all spend some time there. We talked about establishing goals. They can also give you a perspective on career broadening. Colonel Hall is a core acquisition person. Through a program called SPEED, he did maintenance and also has that perspective and kind of helped him open some doors on the backside, or excuse me, on the more senior side of his career. Talk about finding other mentors, right? Again, this is not a beginning and end. This is an opening of the door, if you will, to greater relationships, to expanded relationships, to talking to more people. The more of a Rolodex you have, I'd say the more probable your success will be, because I don't have it all. And if you talk to me, I'm going to give you my perspective, things that I've seen. But if you talk to me and two other folks, you'll have a broader perspective and may be able to pull kind of best practices from the three to kind of build out your leadership, to vet out your posture, your plans, that type. Establishing mutual expectations. Hey, early in a relationship, here's the expectations. We already talked about not letting it be one-sided. Codes of conduct. I'll spend a few moments here. Avoid interactions that give the perception of a romantic relationship. Foot stomp a few times, but again, out of an abundance of caution, I'll spend a few moments here. You don't even want to give the appearance that the relationship is anything untoward, not above board, not in a professional realm. Limit in-person meetings to public locations or gatherings, especially, hey, I'm on active duty. Let's say I had a cadet for this cycle. I'm like, hey, yeah, meet me at the Starbucks. Let's go get some coffee. My intentions may be perfectly innocent. The intentions of the cadet may be perfectly innocent, but it wouldn't give the right appearance for me to do that. Now, if I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be in Montgomery for the weekend. Let's touch base. I'll meet you in the cadet area of the detachment. and we sat down and talked life there, that's a totally different lens. Again, me, place I am in my career, I don't even want to give the appearance that I'm doing anything that's not above board. And we'd ask that you to be very careful throughout this mentoring relationship to make sure we don't put a negative light on anything that we're doing here. Keep conversations geared toward professional topics. Avoid social interactions that are usually reserved for peer groups such as nightclubs or forms of adult entertainment. Don't have to go into any details there. 3.2, while under the official capacity of this mentoring relationship, relationships should be similar to those of a supervisor and subordinate or a student and a teacher. Therefore, social interaction should maintain certain boundaries to uphold a commensurate professional relationship, as stated in AFI 36-2909. You all can read 2909. I think over the course of this now hour and 20 minutes, you've got the idea of a left and right boundary. I don't suspect we'll have any problems here. This is a very mature group on the mentee and mentor side. 3.7, it's bolded, so I'll highlight any violations of the codes of conduct should be reported to the Det 19 APAS, Detachment Commander, and Alumni Association Mentor Program Coordinator. That coordinator is Colonel Hall. You see him there on your screen. Again, you will all have his contact information. That's not to call him at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, how's the weather? But if you've got something that your spidey senses is telling you that's not right, please, I think I speak for him in saying, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd like to address and correct that as early in the process as possible. So please don't sit on that. If you've got the feeling that you think that something might be wrong, please just raise it so we can hopefully address it before it becomes a real problem. In the participant agreement, there are prompts for the mentor and mentee to discuss touch points that work. We'd ask that you look objectively at yourselves, at your schedules, and come up with something that works. And as stated earlier, adhere to it to the best of your abilities. Understand things are going to come up. You are going to need to adjust from time to time, but that should be the exception and not the rule. I think all the rest of the things there, and again, I just glossed over this document. We're at about 3 hours and 28 minutes now, so a little longer than I had anticipated, but I did want to spend a few moments here. And I'll close before handing it over to Colonel Hall for any final thoughts on this document or just a session writ large with, hey, your signature either is already on this document or is going to be on this document. And we hold that in high regard, that you've taken the time to go through and understand each of the bullets here and also had a chance to review this session. So we're excited. Again, I know I spent a lot of time focusing on the things that we don't want to happen. There's a reason why we were deliberate there and that we foot stomped those a few times. We just want to make sure that we've imparted, hey, here are the expectations. Fully expect that everyone who's viewing this either as a mentor or a mentee to be viable participants. And I personally am excited about this year's pairings and all the good things that I'm looking forward to hearing that come from these relationships. So with that, my last pause, and sir, over to you for final thoughts on this document and then any final thoughts on today's session.
Okay. Well, I think the session itself was very thorough. Thank you again to Major Maxey and Captain Smith for being the heart and soul of this operation, making sure that it's come to fruition. With the mentoring agreement, one of the most important things I think with that first engagement is to lock down how often that you want to meet. So you establish that expectation for your battle rhythm at the very beginning of your relationship, and that way. And then also just figure out, just once you figure out how often you want to meet, then go ahead and schedule the next appointment, right? And that way it just keeps things moving forward. I will say one point of clarification on the codes of conduct, and I think you covered that very accurately. I just want to say one of the reasons why we put that in there to protect everyone, right? So to protect the mentee, to protect the mentor, to protect the detachment, and also to protect the alumni association. So everyone might have the best of intentions and unknowingly do something. So being able to write out those codes of conduct, that just helps create the right expectations up front, and keeps everything in a positive manner. And that's the only thing we really want to do. As far as the meeting and meeting privately versus meeting in public locations. So when we wrote that, the intent was really to create those right boundaries and control measures. But I will say, when we think about a public location, in my mind, going to a Starbucks is fine. I would say, or going out to lunch is fine when they're in a public restaurant, right? Because those are public locations. I would say, change the scenario a little bit. Hey, I'm TDY in Montgomery. You want to stop by my hotel room? Now that is that's no longer considered a public location, right? So we want to stay away from that. Or if a cadet is visiting, for me, Washington D.C., hey sir, I'm here. Hey, how about I stop by the house for a little bit? Probably not the best decision to make, right? So those are the types of, I would say, private locations that we want to try to avoid. But going to a public Starbucks or going to a public restaurant to eat, I think those are good for helping to build connections and increase that relationship. But beyond that, hey, I'm really excited about this this mentoring program. I think you'll find that a lot of people who are mentors in this program are probably the benefit and recipient of some really good, having really good mentors in their lives, and they see the value in it. So this is just our way to pass it to someone else. I know I needed it, and there's a lot of people in my class, ROTC class, to tell you the same thing. I'm not going to hide that.
Roger that. Cadet Thompson, Captain Smith, any thoughts to add before we close?
Just that, it was quality briefing and everything, and provided a lot of information. I'm made aware of like the goals of the actual Debt Alumni Association, the mentorship program. But some of the key points that stood out to me were just knowing the standards, essentially knowing the standards when it comes to conduct, discipline, obviously any AFI that pertains to the mentorship program. I believe you mentioned the 36-2909.
Right.
Active communication, active and loose flowing communication, and setting goals, and also being accepting to constructive criticism. Those are some of the main points I received.
Okay. Awesome. So Captain Smith shot me a note via the chat, so she didn't have anything to add. Again, thank you so much for your time. I am about to end recording of this session. All right, so no longer recording, and glad that I opted to.
It still says record.
Oh,